Min, Nicole. Welcome and welcome back to Wait with Jazz. I had to come to this live earlier than usual, so this is really impromptu. I'm not expecting anyone really to chime in, but if they do, or if you do, great, welcome. See you in the replay, hopefully. But this is an update. I had to come and bring this information as soon as possible. This is in regard to the OFA versus the FDA legal decision that we have been standing by on. Just a quick recap for those who are really not familiar with the current legal trajectory of Tirzepatide compound and the shortage list, etc. October 11th of 2024, a judge issued an order to remand and voluntary stay in response to a motion um, of stay that was requested for more time. This was requested by the FDA. The FDA filed an unimposed motion for the voluntary remand in effort to reevaluate the shortage. So pretty much for further investigation. This is typically typical in legal proceedings when you need more time. So it's pretty much a continuance. Okay. Um, that was October 11th, and we've been waiting going up to November, which is where we are now, for an update, a new hearing. So a hearing did take place, um, and at this time, both parties are currently in continuance for the remand to voluntary stay for further investigation. So more time is still needed. The FDA still needs to clarify the GLP-1 brand, the GLP-1 medications availability at this time, since Lilly is stating that the shortage is currently over. You know, that availability is effective. Medications can be accessible. There are a number of new distribution chains involved and channels. Lilly came out with the Zepbound vials as an extended extension to relieve the shortage, as well as there is an upcoming, Reta, Retatrutide that's also a Lilly product. But that's not scaling out until probably around 2027. But I know it's currently in clinical trials. But in regard to Tirzepatide, we're still at a standstill. It's still a to be determined because there's still unanswered, unmeasurable discrepancies with people receiving their medication. So because that is in place, it's hard to believe that the shortage is completely over. You may have the product available, but is it produced in a effective amount of time and distributed in effective amount of time in different channels, and is it, or is it able to satisfy that segment of population, coming from that area and that area, and go and so forth. So, Lilly has to come up with this information and it has to be provable to your honor, the judge. So at this time, it's still a continuance. So it's another continuance. There will be a court date in December, or maybe earlier, depending on what your honor decides. A judge could push up a date as well. Um, so what this means for tirzepatide at this time, y'all, is that the compound is still available. It's available with compound for providers who still choose to offer tirzepatide. I know as a result of the cease and desist letters that were sent out in the past, pretty much starting the saga to get to this final stage in which we are at with tirzepatide compound, that kind of was a deterrent for some compound providers to just cut ties with tirzepatide altogether. My face is shining. That shea butter is shaying every morning. Sorry. Yeah. So that kind of deterred some compound providers. Some are no longer offering it. My compound provider still does offer it. And then as long as this is still hanging in limbo right now, as far as a continuous in place, there is still a stay in effect for remand. So this is still in the posture of remand. A motion to stay was requested and granted. Okay. And now further investigation is needed, and a continuous request pretty much was made. So this is continued for further investigation until December or maybe sooner, depending on your honor's um, action. So that's pretty much where the legal trajectory is with OFA versus FDA. OFA stands for the Outsourcing Facility Association. FDA stands for the Food and Drug Administration. This is definitely important information for everyone, to be honest with you. Well, who, is invested, who with this medication, who are patients of this medication, whether brand or compound, but specifically those who are compound patients for tirzepatide, because and if it is declared that this medication is no longer in shortage, if the judge feels satisfied that the demands are able to be fulfilled, accessibility is there, and every patient can receive their branded medication, then it will be removed from the shortage list. And then, it will be 503B pharmacies will no longer service. 503A pharmacies can service, but really under strict restrictions. And that's going to get it a little interesting. I wonder how Lilly's going to handle that, because I know a lot of compound providers are looking into the mechanics of manipulation, pretty much going by the terms of possibly altering the dose amounts. So it's not identical to Lilly's dosing measurements. So you see what 2.5, 5 milligram, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, right? So you might get some numbers that are off of those numbers. They're not matching those numbers. You might, instead of a 7.5, it may be a 7. You know what I mean? Something like that. 2.50, maybe 2.6. Something just in a range to see what can they still keep in place that will legally afford them the ability to still provide the tirzepatide compound on their terms and still being within the terms of Lilly. You see what I'm saying? People don't want to brush too many feathers. I don't know, we haven't seen that played out yet, but I know that is the mental workings right now for compound providers. They are at the drawing board. Some are thinking of adding B12 to the formula. You have to alter the formula. Um, but specifically stated by, Lilly, even in the legal writings, okay, that it does not need to be identical. It can't be identical or almost like. So this is going to be interesting. That wording is specific. It cannot be identical or almost like Lilly's brand GLP-1 medication. So this is going to be interesting to see what pans out. But at this time, tirzepatide compound is still available. It's available as long as your compound provider is providing it, until further outcome of the decision. And then once the decision is made, there is still a time allotment that's given. It's not a shut off period. There's typically a 60-day period before discontinuance. So people still can plan their exit plans and all that. Another semi update. We don't really know what's going on with semaglutide compound, but that's kind of in a similar posture here. We haven't had an update with semaglutide compound, but the last thing we did know was that Novo Nordisk did submit a request to have semaglutide added to the demonstrous compound list. So pretty much the compound ban list, because of the number of casualties, counterfeit semaglutide that's out there, fatalities from semaglutide compound, not from Ozempic, not from Wegovy, but from compounds according to Novo Nordisk's claim. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with semaglutide, because everyone was rooting for semaglutide as an alternate option if tirzepatide compound is no longer available. However, semaglutide or semaglutide, whichever pronunciation you rock with, is up in the air as well. It's up in the air as well. But right now, tirzepatide with this OFA versus FDA legal situation is what's taking the forefront. But don't be surprised, semaglutide or semaglutide is coming right behind it. Okay, as an update on whether or not that's going to be officially banned, due to all the counterfeit situations that are going on with semaglutide. I mean, it is kind of ridiculous here. And it's these situations are making it very bad for the people who, the compound providers who are providing semaglutide, um, you know, with quality. They're legally providing it with quality. So the other people, the bad apples, are making it worse for the rest of the group. But yeah, that's pretty much the update on this. I'm keeping this live a little short because this was just an impromptu, because the information recently came out. I don't want to sit on the information too long. I just wanted to make sure I have it provided to the community. Plus, I know within my schedule, I'm not going to be able to make it for an evening live this evening. So I had to get it in where I could fit it in, y'all. You know how that go. Get it in where you can fit it in. Um, Thanks though for those who are tuned in, you know, and hopefully everyone else will catch the replay. Breathe, breathe, breathe. It's all right. The compound is on point. This also is a weekly check-in for me as well. Real quick, you guys, I've been on tirzepatide for 9 months. I've been on GLP-1 medication specifically for about 9 months. Zepbound pen, then transition to tirzepatide compound. I'm currently in maintenance. So these lives also are a quick check-in, weigh-in for me. I'm trying to maintain my weight within my weight range. I'm not more so focused on a number now because fluctuations occur. But as long as I'm in a weight range, we good. Pretty much the 125 to 130 weight range. Good morning. Good morning, Team Jesus Forever. Thanks for popping in. This definitely just was a random at this time because it was supposed to be later. But I'm still within the weight range, y'all. So I'm satisfied with that, between the 125 and the 130. I did have a swelling last week that skyrocketed my weight to 132.6. However, I took my water pills because I do have lymphedema, and my legs were swelling. So my lymphedema was lymphedema. That's just at that time, it just happens periodically, and it increased my weight. But once the swelling went down, my weight went right back down to is where it was supposed to be, within my weight range. So I'm good and I'm comfortable with that. Um, so excited to give you guys this information. I love providing information to the community and in regard to these medications that are changing our lives. Okay. It's changing our lives for the better. So thanks for tuning in. I will see you in the next video. Be real.